Hey folks, 2004 Dodge Durango with a 5.7 Hemi in it. Initially came in because it had a skip on it and it was shutting off as soon as you started the engine up. It was shut off, and preliminary tests showed that it was overcharging, getting up into 16 volts. And someone had already put an ECU on this vehicle, and when they reinstalled it, the grounds weren't connected. So we fixed all the ground connections. There was one of the ECU plugs that was broken, so we took care of that. And but the ECU had already been burnt by the old over voltage condition, and we put another alternator on it and reprogrammed the temperature sensor on the battery. That solved the overcharging issue, but we were left with a skip issue. On the 5.7 Hemi, you have 2 plugs per cylinder, and it was only firing on one of the plugs on 2 of the cylinders, which had a retarded timing situation, because one fires a little bit early, one fires a little bit late. That's where you get the performance out of the engine and the long burn sequence that's in the cylinder. So customer brought me a new ECU that was supposed to be pre-programmed, but it wasn't. Upon first connecting it, that's the old ECU right there. But upon putting the new ECU in there and firing it up, or energizing the ECU, we had no, let me wipe the screen off, our camera off. And it didn't help much. But anyway, we had no VIN number in the ECU, we had no mileage in the ECU, and we had no encryption key for the security in the ECU. So I had to go through all these settings here and enter all that information into the ECU. At first the car wouldn't even turn over. You turned the key, it was dead. With the new ECU in it, it wouldn't even engage the starter. So what I did was going into the ECU, connected it up with my X tool, had to download all the latest updates and everything in the X tool before I could do that. But once I did that, then I went through all these inner settings here, set up RPM test. First we did ETC learned, and then we did a check PCM odometer, and we reset that and went through reset the memory, check PCM VIN. We had to go there and enter a PCM VIN. We had to go into the RPM test and set that. O2 heater system test, did that. ETC throttle follower test, we did that. Once we went through all of this initial programming and got everything synchronized and hit the key, fired up, runs like a dream. This vehicle only has 108,000 miles on it. I don't know what it was originally carried to the other shop for that messed up the ECU by not connecting the grounds back properly. But as you can see now, she purrs like a kitten, and the voltage is maintaining perfect for this year model. That is dead on the money on the specs. So far what we've had to do is put a new alternator on it, because the regulator in the old original alternator was stuck and it was putting out 16.4 volts. Engine was shut down, so we replaced that, got it to where it would run, and it was running actually pretty good, other than it was running delayed advance on 2 cylinders because the ECU was not firing 2 of the coils. Put another battery in it. The battery that was in it was fried due to the alternator overcharging condition it had previously. But so I think we got everything straight. Still got to go through a few more of the settings to make sure I've got everything programmed in correctly. Once we run it a little bit, the vehicle hasn't ran in quite a while. We had a lot of issues trying to get ECU due to COVID, and ordering one offline, trying to receive it, had issues. Finally told the customer he could check around some of the local stores, because it's been over a year or so, see whether they're back up and running, can get us one. And they could. They got it pretty quickly actually, and it was supposed to be pre-programmed, but it was not. Included in the documentation, and we give them the VIN number and we give them all the information off the vehicle, but then it comes in saying, as you can read here, check PM circuits for PCM circuits for shorts. We did all that. It already fixed that with the old PCM, and the other languages I can't read. But it says after installing this unit, you must perform a simple VIN entry procedure. Well, we thought by giving them all that information beforehand they would do it, but obviously they didn't. Luckily, I was able to download the updates into this new scan tool I got that allowed me to finally get into a Dodge and be able to set all them parameters. And we went, like I said, we went in and set the accelerator pedal parameters, the battery temperature sensor parameters, battery voltage parameters. So I went through each one of these functions and have set it all up. We're going to run it, bring it up to operating temperatures, cut it off, let it sit a while, restart it, make sure everything's still on the money, and we'll call this a done deal. Thank you for watching.